going on?
Hey, we're live!
What?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
It's the Inner Power Podcast, episode number 26. You know, perhaps my sign language. I was like, I passed my BSL level 1 last week. Anyway, yeah, thank you. Yay. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you.
Woo!
Woman Day.
Woman Day, yeah.
Woman Day, yes. I'm celebrating today.
You brought the sun into my eyes. Thank you for that. Full of enlightenment energy today. So today we're talking about walking a shamanic path with Robert Leons, which I'm quite excited because Robert I interviewed a couple of times on my other podcast. And we're going to find out a little bit more about his journey. And so what? Should we just bring Robert on and let him introduce himself?
Let's Robert speak.
All right, by the power of our minds, we use the.
There we go.
I feel like Professor X at the X-Men.
That was not the power of your minds. I did all of that.
You did. It felt really tingly around here as well.
Did you notice the difference?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's why my hair fell out, because it definitely had a full set of hair when I was talking to you just a minute ago.
Oh, dear.
Actually, probably since the last time I seen you, I seem to have lost more hair, whereas you got more.
Well, yeah, it seems to be. Yeah. I don't know. I think the lighting.
Fair exchange.
How are you? Thank you for bringing me on, by the way. And yes, again, happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
And I appreciate that as well. Thank you.
So we are really excited about having you in the house today, talking about your journey, about shamanic journey. It's super exciting, very interesting subject. So just tell us more. Just tell us more. Don't wait. You know, just
before you do, before you do, I got to cut in. If you are listening to this on the podcast, don't forget, as always, Ange, don't forget, you got to leave a 5-star review. Definitely share. Morning, Claire, tuned in. And if you've got any questions for Robert, please pop them in. And
yeah, good.
Ask a question, basically. Sorry, Robert.
Questions, questions would be amazing.
Okay.
So where do we start? Oh my good grief. I mean, it's really impossible, isn't it, for anybody that's kind of walked any kind of path to establish where the beginning is, because once you start digging into it all aligns from day dot, you know, and that's no difference. Excuse me, that's no different with me. But I guess we could pick up the journey where we kind of left off last time on Matt's other podcast. And and at the time, I believe you may have interviewed me once before I went away, when I was really, I guess, hiding it from at that point, but I really didn't know where I was, what I was doing in my life at all. And then I decided to go to Peru and drink medicine in the jungle to help me out of that dark spot, you know, having just kind of awoken, if you'd like, and trying to make sense of it all. I'd really basically just started again in everything in my life. I walked away from everything. And so I was very, very confused, very, very didn't know what was going on, and in a real dark space, you know. So then when I came back from the jungle, I think I starred on Matt's other podcast again. And that was like the very, very, very early part of my integration, you know. And what had resonated with me above all of the lessons, the magical lessons and the heart-opening experience that I'd had in Peru, what had resonated with me also was the shamanic elements of that experience. And that kind of set me on my own path, my own curiosity, and with the inspiration to find out more and to dive deep into that. And so it takes a long, long time to integrate the lessons especially from such an immersion with plant medicines I did. And over those next few years, I began to train myself to become and to learn more about becoming a shamanic practitioner. And now, here I am, kind of very much bringing my own version of accumulation and evolving into this space to kind of hold space for other people to have kind of similar experiences with different medicines such as cacao and holding fire ceremonies, as well as my one-to-one work that I do and the foundational training that I do of my own now. So that is it, I guess, in a nutshell. I'm surprised I was able to form any kind of nutshell out of, because obviously so much has happened, so much depth has happened, so much healing has happened in a personally for myself, which continues to, and as we all are, continuing to evolve. I would say now I'm really kind of beginning to step into my own gifts, my own power, if you want to phrase it like that. I kind of avoid that, really. I think we're all equally powerful and we all have equally unique, beautiful gifts to share with this world. But when we begin to step into those ourselves, then we can really start to realize our fullest potential and our fullest expression, really. And for me, that lies in those roots, and that healing and all of that lies within a shamanic context, really. So, it's such an honor. I've gone all tingly just speaking about it. But it's, when I always really knew that there was something else in life, I guess. I always thought, this can't be it. Even when I had everything, I had the amazing, surrounded by beautiful houses and cars and stuff. And I never really I wasn't in a position to be able to appreciate anything in life. I always thought there was something else, and I was always searching externally of myself to find that, whether through experiences, other people, or material things, so to be able to actually find that within yourself, and everything that I knew had to, I just knew, like I was saying, there had to be something more to life. And yeah, there's so much that you'll never be able to learn it or comprehend it all, and that's the mystical nature of what I do, and what kind of makes me tick, really. So yeah.
That's amazing. So I'm just curious. So you're working with people like groups and one-to-ones, and can you physically observe their change like within one session? Can you see them like?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yes. I definitely believe also that you align with and the people gravitate towards you when you're right for each other, One thing, the one-to-one stuff that I do is very, very different to the ceremonial work that I do, for sure. And it is working on a deeper level and opening up about what you're experiencing in life, perhaps at that time, what's coming up for you, your triggers, and really just investigative sort of conversation about that and how that traces back and all that sort of stuff. And there are people out there that can do that really, really well and logically work it out. I'm not one of those people, unfortunately, but I do believe those conversations open up somebody's energy and bring things to the surface to be healed. The way that I am able to help facilitate that is that I guess spirit shows me a visual story, if you like, and I'm able to bring back that and relay that, and that just works in a capacity that I would never be able to achieve having heard any of that information. It just, yeah. So the reason I believe that it does work so effectively is because shamanic healing works on different energy levels. So we can talk about extraction, or removing entities, blocks and drains, and etc., and attachments. That's all on the outer energy field, although that can run very deep, and it's actually a very complex discussion just about the variations of types of entities that we can encounter, because they're not all that simple. But then essentially, once you've removed that, using, connecting with that entity, that energy, that block, that drain, or whatever it may be, causing that's keeping you stuck in a certain vibration, removing that with love and connection, and helping that energy transmute for itself, and helping it see the bigger picture and what's actually going on there. is the way to, so that those entities then don't come back, rather than like trying to forcibly remove something. And it's just, not how I was taught, for sure. But then psychic surgery to help heal the energy field, but also dropping down and anything else that might be going on physically because of that presence. So psychic surgery with that, but then dropping down onto a slightly deeper level, and our sort of power centers, I always view them as our chakras, and not necessarily realigning, I'd say rejuvenating the power of those to make, and that again is just a journey that I follow with my guides. My guides often are doing the work, and I'm sort of viewing it, or they're telling me to physically do it myself, or whatever happening in that space at the time. But once that's often the most beautiful spectacle within the healing, if you like, because we can literally go anywhere with that. And then once you're happy with that, then dropping down again deeper still onto soul level. So this is where you encounter such things as DNA clearing, past life clearing, and soul retrieval. So but it's essentially all of those things are really aligning our whole energy up with ourselves in this lifetime again, and regaining or retrieving those elements that have had to fragment because of the things that we've been through, that they couldn't exist anymore. So it's just retrieving bringing us back to our fuller power, really. So particularly, I think soul retrieval tends to be the I nearly said more popular choice. Do you know what I mean? It's not it tends to be the most common because of things, and can often, depending on what other people's, I guess, beliefs are, it can often feel like there's more resonance with that sort of healing because you're dealing with things that have happened in this lifetime. So it's the traumas that they've experienced, and because of those traumas, part of their life energy, their life force, or their soul has fragmented in order for them to be able to deal with the outcome of that, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be the biggest, deepest traumas, but anything, so being able to, with my guides doing the healing on their sort of life path, their journey, and then being able to pass through and retrieve those elements of self, to reconnect, to make us fuller. And so those three different layers of energy working with, I believe, is why it's so powerful. Because I think any one of those or missing out any one of those isn't really a complete healing, if you like. So if you do a chakra alignment without removing the entity is just really always going to pull us back into the same place. And if you haven't healed it on a soul level, then obviously, so it's kind of, it's the way that I was taught, but it did resonate deeply with me to be helping people on all of those energetic levels, really.
Brilliant. I've got a few questions.
Yeah.
I hope I won't forget.
I'll just sit here.
I'm thinking, what does it feel like to have an entity interfering with your own energy?
So I had an entity.
Well, you said you did.
Find out.
I just want to hear your opinion. Just what tell me when you just is like people physically describe. What is it like? Once they find out, they're actually carrying different energy within themselves. Does that make sense?
Well, it can really be described as anything. It could be, just a lack of self-belief, or it can be an interference in, So it's kind of, I guess, I only really ever view that sort of thing. It's not like I walk around and see entities stuck to people. I have to focus in on that healing space and with my guides, and there are various different ways that they will, especially at healing at distance, if I'm not using like a feather or something like that, there's different ways that they will help that energy reveal itself, I guess, So when I encounter them, basically I'm there to remove them at the same time. So some people can really, they feel it can manifest even in a physical ailment, So hip or whatever. But energetically, people can feel it really deeply as well. And people, I guess, depending on how in tune they are with their own emotions and how in tune they are with their own body, can actually really feel, see, and sense that energy being removed as well. So it can be quite intense for some people. That said, you could be completely, and most people are blissfully unaware that it's even there prior to the healing. You know, most people, like 99.99999, like walking around with some form of attachment or entity all of the time, you know, and it's when is that ready to come up and be removed, you know? So yeah, often undetected, but it would be affecting the person in some sort of way.
Yeah.
So do we get those entities, you know, being attached to us, you know, during this fragmentation, you know, time? Is like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. What was I don't know if how it was to be, Robert. So what was said to me when it was discovered that I had this entity on me that was affecting a lot of things in my life. Not that I'm going to put everything. Oh yeah, I'll blame it on that, obviously. But it was weird when it was removed. Literally, I felt like something had gone, but I didn't know. And even the other week when I had the past life regression, that she did something before, and she did the body code then. There was some sort of negative film or whatever, something a bit like a membrane or whatever, just attached somehow. And I think it's just when you're in those, maybe those, you might relate to this, because I wanted to share a little bit just about when I first met you.
Yeah.
We can have it in just, it can pick up on us maybe in our harder times and our darker moments. And I think that was something that became apparent for me the other week, was I need to do more to protect my energy now, which I guess I've been aware of over more recent years, but again, it's like working out, isn't it? It's like staying healthy. It's keeping your soul healthy. It's keeping that energy healthy, and just
there's a few things to say on both of those things, actually. Firstly, yes, absolutely. These energies, entities, blocks, they often, they're attracted to a certain vibration that we're putting out, and it's often one of lack. And bearing in mind, most of these energies can't really survive without a human, without a host, if you like. They're attracted to the negative, often, energy that we're putting out. So when we've experienced a trauma, or we're going through, you know, that sort of thing in our lives, then that's often what attracts them in, and they're able to. Very often, they're there. They think they're helping. They're actually. But you know, and they think that they're doing you a service, but they're actually keeping you stuck in that vibration for sure. But when you're talking about how do you stay healthier, how do you, it's being mindful of your. There's two different, and I think they're both valid, by the way. There's two different kind of approaches to protection, if you like. So actually, I worked with a girl called Zana, and will probably work with Zana. She's an amazing, amazing healer and amazing person as well. A trained ayahuasquero as well as shamanic practitioner. She really has this angle of, you know, love is the highest vibration. Love cuts through everything. To emit love is the, you know, the best protection that you can have. And yes, absolutely, 100%. You can't deny that, because love kicks everything into touch. But can you maintain that vibration 24/7? And if you can, congratulations. But the rest of the world can't. And you know, is it therefore valid to have some kind of energetic protection on? Particularly, that's something that I use when I'm in a healing, or whether I'm in a ceremonial space, to protect that space and everybody in it and stuff. So but and it's being wary of it as well. And you know, if you have experienced, or you are experiencing, like a negative time in your life, or some sort of you've had a real big shock or something, maybe, then yeah, that's when these things will definitely sort of seize that moment, I guess,
Definitely.
Vibrational match.
Vibrational match. There you go.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, Robert. So obviously, I remember when I first met you. So it was 2018. I mean, it was one of my first few guests I did for the interviews, and but you have a great energy that comes off you, like a great positive energy, and you had it then, and it's just so interesting. It's so nice to hear you talking now as well, because I was just when you present yourself at the beginning of the interview, and I was thinking back on. Yeah, he's talking about photography, but this doesn't make sense for this guy. It's really weird. But I didn't, I couldn't maybe grasp that. I know there was other things going on. Then I don't know if it was about a year or two later anyway, but I just got to say, I know we only met a few times. So proud of you, buddy. This is, you've come on, you've evolved, and you just keep evolving. And well, you said it when I said we were going to interview Robert, and what a great energy you put off, and you can just it's just so nice to see. And I know we'll probably speak again in a year, whenever it is, and I bet you'd have evolved even more. And I think
you're gonna be teaching people how to levitate at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, I did that last year.
We got some comments, so I'm just going to share some of these a sec, because hang on, we're going to try and get through all you. First of all, welcome Elizabeth Powell to the Inner Power podcast. Thanks for tuning in. So I hope it's okay. We're just going to share this one. So Sean Pritchard, thank you, Sean. Sean, you tune in quite a lot, I think. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, I love this. As a practicing witch, I use energy work all the time. There really is a huge power by using our energies to lift our vibration and to heal our old wounds. Definitely.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, absolutely. Practicing witch, that's so interesting. I'd like to connect with him.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely reach out. So there you go, Sean. Reach out to Robert, or Robert, you reach out to Sean. It's also another one. So the power of this type of work on a personal healing and how we interact with others is hugely beneficial. Far too many people suffer from ancestral trauma that is passed down over many generations and never get resolved. What's your thoughts on that? I think
yeah, absolutely. So a different if you go back to that one-to-one healing, going off on a different avenue, I guess, is DNA clearance. So going back and healing ancestral traumas, and that clicking down in our DNA. Yeah, for sure. It's actually interesting that I'm working with 4 ancestors at the moment. Man, that's one of the all the plant medicine, all of the healing, the advice, the different modalities tried, and the different books read, and everything, and and trying to just tackle it head on and push myself through, and nothing stopped my fear of it. Was it fear of being seen? No, it's performance anxiety, really. So when it came to even playing something that I'd become passionate about and practiced all the time, my flute playing and my singing and everything, and this leads into me actually holding ceremonial space, I was just consumed still with anxiety when it came to that performance, and it would stop me from doing those things. And it was actually our guides, when we're ready for a next phase, when we're ready to kind of move on and the next level or whatever it is in our shamanic path, our guides can change. And it's always, I always find it very, very sad, because you've been working really closely with an energy, a spirit, a guide for a while, and you kind of miss them. But for me, this time, when that changed, 4 ancestors came in, and I thought, this is different. This is different energy. This is one ancestor that I'm still working with, the first of those 4 ancestors. I've only ever seen 2 of them, although I see them all the time, but they haven't revealed themselves to me, the other 2. I sense their presence, I see their presence, just not any details. The first of which wanted to sit in my energy and express herself. through me. And I've always been very skeptical. I've always been very judgmental about such things as well, you know, and I just thought I'm never ever going to do that unless it's actually real. But this isn't sort of something that I do even in ceremonial space. This is like something of self to help move me forward in life. But I was really, really shaking. I felt like I was on the ceiling because it happened a couple of times before I went to bed that she was wanting to sit in my energy. But I said, right, okay. So I made the space for it, and I went into my spare room one morning, and I says, right, let's do this then. And just through allowing that to happen and allowing that expression and all those noises to come out of me, it's just really weird. I just felt different from that moment. And you know, the next time I picked up flute or intended to play or sing or whatever, it was just the same level of restriction and block. It'd gone. It was like I can now move freely into that space. There's no more hurdle, you know. So it was like one of the biggest self healings, I guess, that I'd experienced. But when we're speaking about ancestors, often there's something else to heal for them as well in that space. So I believe that actually didn't clear stuff just for myself there, clear stuff on an ancestral sort of level as well. But and I know that I have to allow her back in one more time. But this time it's almost like it's doing it for myself, but it's allowing her to transmute into a different form. And I know this is like as a woo-woo as you can get this conversation, but it's absolutely, yeah. So just, and I've forgotten the guy's name, so sorry, what he's saying there, and healing on ancestral levels, or however he phrased it. Yeah, it's a massive, it's a biggie. It's a real biggie.
So, well, Elizabeth, our new viewer, she's put us a comment here. This is how I'm working at the moment with spirit. It's strange. Oh, sorry. We got a serious lag on here today. Oh my God, come on. We have to wind it up. This is how I'm working at the moment with spirit. It's strange. It's a very same thing, like having past life regression. Also, Robert, Elizabeth has asked if you have a Facebook page. So for the sake of people that maybe listening on the audio, what's your Facebook page? And
so my Facebook page is called Heart Warriors. So Heart Warriors, you'd recognize it quite easily. It might actually, the URL for it might be Heart Warriors Tribe.
Heart Warriors, but pop a link in.
Big blue butterfly.
Oh, that's easy to find. There you go. You're welcome, Elizabeth. Excellent.
There was another question from Claire.
Yeah.
Just go up. Just bear with us 1 second. Okay.
Was it this one?
Yes, with those.
So I think when we were talking about protection, and there it is, Claire Egan has asked, can I just ask why you feel there are two ways of protection?
Well, there's many more different ways. There's loads of different ways that you can apply. One of them, I guess, there's two different, what I was trying to say is there's two different views. Some people say the very thought of having to protect yourself comes from fear anyway. And kind of what I was trying to put across was, yes, but can you remain in the vibration of love 24/7? So I believe, and actually what I think it displayed beautiful between Xana and I was the ability to come and have two different views and actually agree with both, so it's not that there's right or wrong all of the time. There's just different versions of truth. And I apply and adopt, I guess, different methods of protection at different times, for sure. Love is like, I think we kind of went on to discuss that anyway. And I think we've already pretty much answered. Yeah, but in the one way, like, you can use a cloak of protection, you can use a web of protection, you can use various different ways to protect yourself. People use a bubble and all these different things. Snakes coming out. The way that I protect sacred space versus the way that I protect ceremonial space are very, very different as well. So there's so many different things, but there's two different opinions that you might come across. Yeah, I think both of them are right.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, Robert. And Sean's, we got two more come up, so there's more comments ago. So Sean, again, thank you, Sean, for interacting. It's great when people interact. It's really important. So we love it when you do. We can integrate it into the podcast as well. So I've been doing some work on assessing my Akashic records too at the minute.
Brilliant.
See, I'm doing this because on the podcast I'm real squinting, right? Those listening on audio, forgot my glasses again. Absolutely fascinating, like the journey to undertake. So it's nice that people can resonate with this. And Claire, if working with spirits or ancestors, it's very important to use protection every day. Otherwise, you're susceptible to parasites attaching you. Yeah, good advice. Definitely. I'm loving all this. I'm loving it. I know. So you want to, before we came on air, you're doing a tour.
Yes.
That's so cool. Yeah, Robert's on tour.
Robert's on tour. Yeah,
what's some of the stuff you're doing this weekend?
very,
Doing that
very,
Stroud.
Yeah. Well, I'm very blessed at the moment, and I do. I go to various different places. Penrith, up in Aberdeenshire, and where I am locally in Nottinghamshire, over in Cheshire, and coming up this weekend actually down in Stroud. Sometimes I do training days, but on this occasion I have a cacao ceremony and a fire ceremony. Both on the Saturday is a cacao ceremony, and I think there's one space left on the Sunday, and a handful of spaces left on Saturday too. So it's 11 o'clock on Saturday at Stroud Yoga Space. Stroud Yoga Spaces. Yes, that's right. So cacao ceremony can look very, very different depending on whose cacao ceremony you attend. There's no right or wrong way to use cacao. It's been a beautiful heart-opening medicine in the Amazon for centuries, and they used it and still use it for many, many different things, and celebration and other things as well, ceremonies and stuff. So it's really, I think, the best cacao ceremony you can ever kind of hold space for is whatever's truest to your own vibration, whatever's truest to your own practice as well. So quite naturally, mine is more shamanic, and we'll connect with the medicine. We will consume the medicine, and after some connection to our bodies and through some light general sort of breath work, we'll then immerse ourselves in a deep journey, which will be guided by my ancestors. So I will narrate, I guess, a journey for people to experience. And throughout that journey, as well as my, I guess, spoken words and description of that journey, there'll be my singing, my flute playing. I nearly said dancing, it might happen. But yeah, chanting, singing, whistling, rattling, drumming, whatever I am shown to bring into that space. But that will more often than not happen like a series of portals or doorways or gateways or whatever happens within the journey, for people to sort of use that time when I am singing and stuff to journey and gain the healing and information that they're ready to receive in that moment. When we wind down the journey, we'll probably sit in circle as well and begin to sing together, or one thing I never do is make anybody do anything. But we will definitely sit in circle and connect with one another, and those that wish to join in some of the magical songs that I have at the end are more than welcome to. And that's when we really come together and vibrational take the roof off, and it's just an amazing, beautiful heart-opening experience, basically, and we need it so much in the West. To be honest, we're often up here, our lives, doesn't matter what we practice, what we do, you know, we're here to live a human life, and quite often, particularly in the Western world, the busyness and the responsibilities and everything that we juggle inevitably brings us back into this space. But cacao ceremony takes us back here, and yeah, it's quite a blissful experience. Yeah, so that's what's happening on Saturday.
I know you're sold. Yeah,
sold.
Ange's there. Sorry, no spaces left.
It'd be an honor to have you there, and
yeah, definitely. You two should connect, anyways. But I just seen Sean's from Nottingham.
yes. Oh, wow.
That's
Fancy
funny,
that.
you know. It's my mum's birthday today. She's 73, bless her, on International Women's
Happy
Day.
birthday.
She's from Nottingham as well.
Is she?
Yeah, we talked about Nottingham earlier, so I'm just saying,
Oh, my
Ange, it's a
goodness.
sign.
Right,
That's where you're off to.
Well, that's amazing, Sean. Fancy that.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at generalizing areas. Like sometimes I say Nottingham, sometimes I say Sheffield. I'm actually in Retford, but he'll probably have heard of that, Sean. It's like everybody thinks I'm from Newcastle. I'm not. I'm from Durham, you know.
Oh my goodness.
Good point, actually. Yes.
Mm.
We're from that there, Gloucester.
It doesn't matter, you know. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter where you're from.
I was born in Stroud.
There we go.
Oh,
Connection
wow.
again.
From another planet. Oh, we got a nice comment here.
That's United States.
Yeah, wow.
Welcome, United
International.
States.
Justin Goodwin Hemphill. I hope we got your name right there, Justin. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I was able to tune into this episode. Unfortunately, being in South Carolina, USA, I'm not able to watch every week. Oh, thank you for another major show.
Goodness, South Carolina. I know somebody who's just moved to South Carolina. I'm actually we're trialing and trying an online cacao ceremony next Sunday. Trying to remember details of the podcast. Yeah,
you got to remember now. Let's put it in the comments later. Justin, Robert will put it in. You could even join it. See, this is what I love. It's connecting people as well.
Yes.
There you go.
Spreading the word.
Which is part of what you kind of you talked about as well. It was about, oh my gosh, my brain is totally gone now. But you're a lot about connection, right?
I think helping people explore a shamanic path themselves. So if we look at the workshop that I do sometimes, it's about exploring our own inner magic, essentially. So it's holding space for people. I always kick it off with a cacao ceremony in the morning, but then it's holding space for people and giving them the relevant information to be able to explore their own internal shamanic world for themselves. So connecting with their power animal for the first time, creating their sacred space, going through, talking more deeply into these alternative perspectives on protection, helping them form their own protection. So these are all different journeys that we take, drum journeys during the day. And the last one being, well, the last one is power retrieval, but actually connecting with their own spirit guide for the first time as well. But that is something that I obviously went through. It's something that I did, and that was, in hindsight, the beginning of me not giving my power away anymore, but actually realizing that I had everything that I needed inside of me. And that's why I fully believe in at least holding space for people to be able to explore that for themselves, you know, because it was from then, I spoke about one of the self-healings that I had via my ancestors. I've had many similar sort of experiences with my other guides as well. One was retracing and figuring out that I had all this hidden, this buried rage within me, actually, and it's because I'd never expressed my rage before, and I went to manage to shapeshift into my dragon, and it's just and that was a whole journey within itself. But it's not only things like that, but it's actually for our own guidance, not always just our own healing, but our own guidance, our internal guidance, and honing in on that for ourselves. we're able to, you know, retain our own power. We stop giving our power away and stop having to search externally for everything all of the time. And for those that it truly resonates with, that have been on that workshop, then it's just the beginning of then they go on to do, you know, and it answers for people, a lot of people, you know, is this for me, like a shamanic path, blah, 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 you know, so. Yeah, so they've been popular. Maybe that's something I might do when I return to Stroud on my next tour.
Yeah, well, Justin's said a great place to tour is South Carolina, so there you go.
Brilliant.
Yeah, why not? But yeah, Claire's said I could listen to this all day. I could actually. You've made today's show really easy. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's thanks, kind of you to say. Yeah, South Carolina, awesome. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, you put your message out, and yeah, like I said, I wow, massive change, and he was in a, you know, I think last time I spoke to you, you seemed like you were in a good place. You just got back. Was it Peru?
Yeah, well, I went a couple of times actually, so I'm not sure when I saw you last. I did go back to Peru and visit for a shorter period of time in the same place. For that time, I went for a couple of weeks rather than a month. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was the first. I can't remember actually when I saw you, whether it was after the first or the second time, but.
I don't know, but I just really want to say is that like the clarity you have on what you're doing is spot on, isn't it?
Alignment,
and I think
is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think because obviously we get same as yourself, all sorts of people listening and following. We just found there. Thank you, you know, speaking up, Justin, because sometimes we don't even know who's listening, and people can be going for all sorts of things. And I think what a massive change and progression that you journey, path, whatever you want to call it, that you've been on over these last 4 years, whatever. I'm just I'm so pleased you come. I'm so pleased you come there. Yeah.
Robert, I'm just curious as well, you know, just because obviously you had this massive awakening couple of years ago, but did you ever feel like much earlier, like maybe in the childhood, that there was something more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I will.
Because, you know, sometimes people go throughout their life and they never get to a point where you are, or I am, or someone else who is on the journey is. They just they're kind of lost for entire life, you know. They don't feel anything. They're just totally disconnected, and maybe that's their journey in this lifetime. But, you know, some people are coming to this world and they have a glimpses that something will be happening. They can't point it out exactly. They don't know really what it is. They can't name it, but they just feel it. Did you have something like that?
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the conversation, I hinted at it's really hard to kind of, it goes way back to childhood, for sure.
Yeah.
Like the whole evolution of your story and actually finally coming to alignment is just, it's a story, it's a lifelong story. And actually for me, was around there being like a three-way split between my parents. When my dad left when I was very young, he left because my mum was deeply religious, had become deeply religious, and so I was brought up at home with my mum under like that sort of Christianity, you know, and deep sort of staunch Christian home. And my dad was like, that's like the Antichrist. And my brother also, but very, very, very different to my dad, very, very angry, very, you know, violent and stuff as well. And yeah, I'm sure he's all right now, but at the time. And so I had this three-way split. Like I had to be somebody completely different to resonate and to be with, even from a very, very young age, like 4 or 5, and growing up from there. So I'd already had like this three-way split going on in my personality, just through order of survival and acceptance and love. But ultimately, because I guess it was the lack of my dad's presence that drew my attention to want to be more like him and to resonate with him and to be accepted by him, that took me away from what was my mum's path, which was, even to this day, fascinates me, the relationship between me and my mum, because she's still very staunch Christian. So my beliefs are quite a challenge, quite a challenge for her now, because there's only one way, you know, but there isn't, as we know, there's many, many different ways up there. So yeah, it just happens to be the, you know, Christian belief that there is only one route to God, you know. So yeah, a great question, and I can't remember what it was actually. But from go on.
The reason why I was asking you that, because sometimes when people are having this massive awakening and then they are teaching alignment, spirituality, are those who often say that they knew from the very beginning that they will be different. Personally, I do feel like many people don't know they did have this kind of experiences, you know, and that you can actually open yourself up to this vastness of, you know, possibilities and align yourself with who you really are later, you know, in your life, without having so-called glimpses, you know, in your childhood. So the reason why I'm saying this is because I do believe that all of us, like you said, we are spiritual beings, and at any point in our life we can actually follow this path and open ourselves to this, you know, just possibilities. You know, it's like we have a free will, we have a choice, and we can always utilize that, make that choice, and make step towards opening ourselves, you know, to what there is really. And yes, I think I just needed to, you know, I just wanted to mention that, because obviously you said you were on the split path, and I sensed when you were talking about it that because you were on the crossroads, so to speak, you were almost forced to look for something else. You didn't feel like either way will be your way, so it had to be somewhere.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
And that some people, this is just what popped into my head, whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. But sometimes I feel that those people who are born into hardships are those who are having a mission to accomplish in their life. Not to mention that, not to forget that we are actually choosing our parents before we come, right? So I do believe that probably you also chosen a harder path to become the person who you are right now, even though at first it wasn't so clear to you as it is right now. So would you agree?
I would agree, yeah. And all the time when you're mentioning that, I'm kind of like assessing my own path and what it all means and stuff. And as I continue to evolve, I just think it's all about, for me, finding my way back to my inner child, which was such a force of love, like, but was not accepted from any angle. Do you know what I mean? I guess. And changed himself to be accepted and all of that sort of stuff. But and I believe, like many of us, our inner child holds our true magic. And I think I'm all about heart space. And I understand fully, and I do a lot of my own shadow work, and I fully believe in that. You know, we have that. I think to truly heal, we have to understand more and more our own shadow aspects and stuff like that as well. So I'm definitely not somebody who says you need to be in your heart and everything's love and light. No way. I couldn't disagree more. I think we need to explore both sides and all elements of ourselves to truly understand. But if we want to live more in that light and more in that heart space, then yeah, we have to do that darker work, that harder work about ourselves. We can't deny that of ourselves, you know. But so kind of like a phrase that I came out with that still resonates with me a couple of years ago, was that my inner child holds my true power. I hold my inner child, you know. So it's kind of really now as the adult going back and helping that inner child be in his element, really, you know. So particularly now in my journey, that's what I think I'm all about, heart space. That was what everything in the jungle taught me, to be able to open my heart, had become so closed through protection and fear, and to open that space with the help of obviously Mother Ayahuasca. And there were some brutal, hard nights that I went through in the jungle with that. But now to be on this path, constantly evolving and working with a very different kind of heart-opening plant medicine, just seems so relevant to me, my own journey and being in my heart space. So for now, for the foreseeable, that's exactly what I'm all about. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. I think we've said before. When I was younger, something, don't know what it was, and it's all a journey, as you just said there.
Yeah.
Just finding out what it is. Still think I've discovered it, and I'm discovering a bit more. There's something I've always felt it. Something was either missing or something wasn't. Just trying to work it out, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going back to 6 years ago, like I said, I had everything, absolutely everything from the outside, people viewing my life. And I looked over and my gardener, my neighbor was doing.
Oh my God!
My neighbor was doing. My neighbor was doing his gardening, and I just thought, is that all I've got to look forward to? You know, there's got to be more. And I was always looking. When I view it in hindsight, I was always looking at every phase in my life. You know, I want to go traveling. I want to do this. I want to do that. But I'd stand in front of Uluru, King's Canyon, or whatever like that. You know, and I wouldn't even be able to allow myself an emotional response. You know, at the time I thought it didn't move me, but now I know that I was just in denial about that, and I wasn't able to express myself fully. You know, or anywhere
Maybe
near.
that was part of it, though. Maybe you still.
But it was, I was always searching for something.
Yeah.
You know?
So, but I think I can relate to that. But maybe, like, if I speak of myself a little bit, so went to Uluru, right? Same, beautiful, but I wasn't ready for that then. But it was an important step, if that makes sense, because it's like it's just a little piece of that big massive pie, I guess. So
yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I mean,
like
if I went back to Uluru,
yeah,
I'd probably drop to my knees, feel the energy, and cry my ass off.
Lift it up. Oh my God. We've had some more comments. We've got to finish up, but I just want to get through some of these because there's Sean again. Thank you, Sean. So just going back to that feeling of, you know, something when we're younger. It's a very strange feeling. I'm a second generation witch. My mum before me was, and now my eldest son also follows the path. I remember being young and being very aware of something other than what I was experiencing. I started studying the craft in my teens, and it all made sense. So, yeah, and I think that's key. If you feel something, I think just owe it yourself to go and research it, find out a little bit more.
Yeah. And that's something that I always say as well. You know, it's like there's something that resonates for everybody out there. You know.
Yeah.
You just read my mind.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually the crossovers between witchcraft and shamanism, it's all, you know, and I know somebody who's worked and studied in both. She's actually written a book about that. So, so, and it's fascinating.
Yes. Ironically, Justin from South Carolina, I think sorry, Justin, my brain is real fried up. Robert, is there any books you recommend reading on learning more about the shamanic path? You literally just said it. So it's been something I've briefly looked into, but seems like I should be diving deeper in, especially after being able to make today's episode.
Do you know what, Justin? There's
busy,
there's so many books on a shamanic path. And actually, there's so many different paths that you could go on within shamanism. I mean, what is shamanism is a great question anyway, because we all refer to it and we kind of know what it means, but actually the only, just by the nature of it actually existing as a word within their language, is from, Siberian shamanism. So it's kind of like they are vastly different to Peruvian shamans who don't even call themselves shamans, but we refer to them as shamans because, again, it's that kind of earthly healing and connecting with plants and stuff. And, we had our own versions, and it was like, maybe it was a bit of witchcraft, and it was all the stuff that Christianity actually, we had our own paganism and everything like that was squashed by Christianity. And it's the whole history of, what actually does shamanism mean as a Westerner is a huge subject to cover and full of very, very different opinions and stuff. But because of all of that, there's so many different elements and avenues to it. I would suggest you look at some books, because we've got there's just so many rich, beautiful cultures out there, ranging from Peru, North America, and the indigenous tribes there as well, through again to Siberia and all sorts. There's so many different, what really speaks to you from that Celtic, all of these different things, what really speaks to you and resonates with you, would be the book that I kind of would suggest. So just doing a little bit of, based on that, looking for a book yourself and what stands out to you is what I would encourage.
I would also encourage that they follow you on Facebook and social media. And then I would encourage you to do your own podcast about it, Robert, because I'm sure we talked about this before, because you've got so much knowledge on it. Yeah. So, you should do.
Well, I don't actually. I scratched the surface on most of it, really. But, I am where I am, and I'm just grateful for that. But, when you said that, though, I'm like, how amazing would that be to have a podcast and explore different elements of the native culture of different areas of, oh man, that would be amazing, because that's what we truly are as a practitioner of the West. I don't think we should feel shame in investigating and being like quite naturally an accumulation or a mishmash of different influences from the world, because we did lose to a huge extent. We lost our original practices in this country and in Europe and stuff. So, quite naturally, we seek influences from across the globe. And what we lack, this will divide opinions, but I think what we lack in our own traditions and our own, cultures surrounding these things, I think we gain because we're not restricted by a written practice, so we get to evolve beyond what perhaps a traditional path would be, So there's part of me that is really, I'm in connection with my ancestors, and I follow my own path, and I get my own teachings, and that's where I'm learning from in spirit. But obviously there's a part of me that craves like a real rich culture immersion into one singular thing as well, What are the answers with all of that? I don't know. That's what I'm kind of like on a quest to find out, and it will evolve, and But yeah, what an amazing podcast to interview people from all over the world and learn more from the horse's mouth of different aspects of their own sort of shamanic practice and such things. Because there's just so many plants, and just you don't always have to take plant medicine. Obviously, shamanism in Siberia is to drum. Then that's how you can achieve an altered state of mind, just with drumming. Rattling does it for me as well, the same. So it's just, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. Elizabeth Powell said that would be brilliant. Sean, I tried to put a comment in on the post. If you could drop us an email, I think it'd be nice to have Sean on as a guest sometime. Sorry to put that in there.
Does this go Is this on your Facebook page then, this live?
We are live on Facebook, our Facebook page and our YouTube channel and
LinkedIn.
It's on my profile on LinkedIn because we still haven't sorted our page out. So yeah, so and if anyone wants to get in contact with us to come on as a guest, it's the innerpowerpodcast@gmail.com. So you have to get in that quick because there's just a couple of comments there. Sorry, Robert. But I think definitely you should be doing a podcast. Angie's got one coming out. Oh, I'm not supposed to say. What am I supposed to say? Angie's got her own. I found your first guest.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Because we clearly have no time for anything else, but just recorded podcasts every 2 minutes. I think, put the message out, give it away now.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I think we better finish up because we've gone well over it. Well, I think we've gone over it. Just hit the hour. That's probably our longest one, I reckon. Robert, listen, we're going to get you back, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much, guys, for bringing me on, and thank you. It's an honor.
No,
so
sure.
Yeah.
And as you can see,
12.
There we go,
Thank
special
you.
number.
Thank you, Claire. There you go.
Love that.
No, thank you so much. If you listen on the podcast, don't forget, leave us a nice 5-star review. Make sure you follow Robert on his pages. Get and find out when his tour dates are. Entice him over to America. Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you for all the new viewers as well.
Yeah, for everyone who've been tuning in today with us and just making this even more special. So
I'm off to put my high heels on for International Women's Day. What are you up to, Robert?
Oh, same,
Yeah.
Yeah. Just some more work, promoting, that sort of thing, preparing gradually towards the weekend, and buying a car perhaps this afternoon. Yeah.
Oh,
fabulous.
Next week's episode. It's gonna have to be a pre-recorded because it's Cheltenham races, and basically what that means in Cheltenham is the internet is
Exactly.
a bit like that. So if we're not live, then we will see you in a couple of weeks time. But thank you so much. Please share it, people. And thank you so much for engaging today. And thank you again, Robert. We will talk to you in the virtual room in just a minute, just to say see you later. Thank you, everyone. We're going to say, I'm going to go. It's just like a long goodbye, isn't it? We just don't like goodbyes. Peace, love.
Bye.
Hey.